The real-world Isle of Man TT event includes the most visceral races on the planet, rider and machine, and Nat's whisker away from disaster, flying over a bumpy closed-road route, whipping by cottages and defying the laws of physics. The racing equivalent of bare-knuckle fighting is so hardcore that the orange or blue plastic wrapping around the trackside lamppost isn't to provide crash padding for competitors, but instead to help protect the street furniture. It deserves an equally unique, punishing and brutal video game. With TT Isle of Man Ride on the Edge 3, that's exactly what Milanese studio RaceWard has set out to achieve. So, when we were able to play an early preview build of the upcoming game recently, we set out to see if it had created an authentic experience, and were surprised by what we found. Before we dive into the changes and new features for this new game, one of which was a big surprise to us, more on that later, let's quickly recap where the TT Isle of Man game series is at. The Isle of Man TT first ran in 1907 on the Irish Sea Island and first received a video game in 1995, Manx TT Superbike, by Sega. However, things really advanced with the PlayStation 2 title TT Superbike's Real Road Racing in 2005, which recreated the full course and also received 2 sequels. We've already created a video retro review of this game, linked in this video's description. We then screamed like a Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10RR at 14,000 RPM into 2018 with a rebooted official TT game, the original Ride on the Edge. Developed by French team Kiloton using its proprietary KT engine technology, it featured the most accurately modelled version of the Snaefell Mountain Course and its surroundings ever. With the aim of being a simulator, the bike physics were uncompromising. The same was true of the expanded sequel 2 years later. I should know, as recently I set myself the challenge of beating a lap record. But since then, nothing. Kiloton was preoccupied by its best-selling World Rally Championship series before starting a reboot of the beloved Test Drive Unlimited, due for release later this year. The actual event went through turmoil too, cancelled in both 2020 and 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But now, the event is back, alongside a new video game, this time by the former developers of Rims Racing, the aforementioned RaceWard. While Ride on the Edge 3 uses the same fundamental technology, it has a different motorcycle physics foundation, and a feature that's a shock to the system. We could sugarcoat this, but instead, we're just going to put it out there. It's still a serious platform, but TT Isle of Man Ride on the Edge 3 is open world. Yes, open world. The Forza Horizon of biking simulators, if you will. If you have any questions about this, leave a comment below and we will try to respond. The previous game had an area of fictionalised Ireland, but that's now been jettisoned and wasn't as integrated as this new version. In fact, now there are no locations other than the Isle of Man itself. However, not only is there the main laser scan track, but also the interlinking roads. That means that you drive not just around, but through the island. So, off you go from the start line towards Bray Hill, but then you can turn right at St John's and down a different public road. At first, it feels unnatural, like Guy Martin in a leotard. But it turns out there's something calming about being alone in the moors and discovering unknown areas, almost evoking memories of the Manx International Rally. We wanted to explore more, long after our limited time preview was complete.
One of our pillars for our approach to the design is to make the island a protagonist in this new version of the game. We want that the player have to know better what is the TT, what is the Isle of Man, what is his story, his past. So we work to give this information for the player. Obviously it's important, the funny to ride with the motorbike, but we want to show how it's beautiful, how it's famous, what the player will can find if they really go to the island during the event.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about the game's development, the key decisions, and what a bona fide Isle of Man TT competitor thinks about Ride on the Edge 3, then we have a new podcast episode available now via your favourite app. The links, again, are in the video description. As you explore, you must find challenges such as time attacks, face-off races, and tasks events. The latter a race with 3 objectives to meet, such as exceeding a set speed, or not crashing. The nature of having over 200 kilometres of roads now means that these smaller events take place on parts of the island that you've never seen before. As a result, it seems as if there are more route possibilities than in previous Isle of Man games, despite the lack of Irish and British tracks. They're just all set within the confines of one larger location. It also allows for the recreation of historic tracks, such as St John's Course used between 1907 and 1910 for racing, and Clype's Course used in the 1950s for certain TT categories.
We started thinking of the journey. The whole concept of the career is the journey of the TT. And we wanted to give a different perspective from the last installment. They used a calendar style career game mode with days and event each day. We decided to change a bit of that to give a fresh and new perspective. And so yeah, the journey is the main theme. You have to go across the island, you have your map, you have the open road system and the POE, the points of interest, and you just go along a series of events scattered through the map, which are unofficial events, which are sort of training steps that a rider must do to then come to the official events, which are the qualification and the TT, the actual race. So everything is planned to give this sense of journey. Even the timeline, which we use an UI expedient on the season screen, is made like that to convey this concept.
The challenges are optional, but you will earn XP to rank up levels, no doubt unlocking trophies and achievements, plus showcasing your ability online, and also, crucially, upgrade points. These are then used to purchase, yes you guessed it, new parts for your machine, in an interface that looks remarkably similar to that of Rims Racing. However, there are some changes.
We come from Rims Racing, which you probably know, it was focused on mechanics and being on the motorbike and dirty ends while just making adjustment to the pinion or changing the chain and stuff. Obviously, we didn't want to transport that system within the TT because we thought it would distract the player from the point, but we still implemented some of that system underlying, simplifying its UI and simplifying the number of components you can upgrade.
What about the main career? Well, the open world is the main career. However, within it, you can run a Supersport and Superbike season in one linear progression. These are the orange events on the map, and you don't have to discover them to progress. Fast travel is available, or you can simply select them from within the pause menu. Simply complete one race after the other, which uses parts of the island before building up to the main event, the Isle of Man TT. The ability to run a season for both bike classes simultaneously is possible. After all, many real-world competitors compete in multiple classes during a TT weekend, although it's a shame that there's just 2 motorcycle categories this time around. Your rivals are at least licensed with representative riders, teams, manufacturers and sponsors from the 2022 event, with a 2023 event update currently slated for later this year in September. New game, same technology, and physics from a different title. The key element of Ride on the Edge 3 then is how it feels. We're happy to say a significant step on from 2020's second title, in our opinion. The motorcycles have an improved sense of weight, they're planted to the ground. Granted, hit a curb at 120 miles an hour and you're still having a plane crash. But the prior games had a tendency to make the bike feel unruly, writhing around over small bumps like a bucking bronco. It made for a tense ride, sure, but was it as realistic as it could be? Perhaps not. It also led to a steep learning curve. We found this new game to be much more approachable, with 3 presets for physics difficulty: beginner, intermediate, and realistic. For those worried it sounds a bit too hemmed in, fret not. You can tweak each to your own personal recipe. Your rival's abilities remain independent, and you can now alter aids such as traction control or the anti-wheelie system on the fly with the directional pad.
We start to our approach by rims, with the physics, with the motorbike management. We change it to the needs of the player of TT. So we have simplified something. The realism of the physics is like the same, but the structure of the motorbike is simpler in TT, because we have not all the components that we have in Rims Racing, that you can mount your motorbike in more than 48 components. Yeah. The components that the player has to manage here in TT3 are less, and with simply upgrade of them, the physics engine we had is the same, and we think with many tricks to help also the not so hardcore gamer to have a good feeling in the beginning of the game, with different kind of level of physics from the beginner to the realistic, and many other helps for the EQ of the motorbike. And we hope to enjoy every kind of players to our games.
When game developers discuss reducing the barriers to entry and making something sound easier, then the hardcore fans can throw a wobbly in the comment sections. But so far, the realistic physics setting is difficult to master, and rewarding when you do so. It's just that there are now stabilizers to ease the newcomers in. It's totally optional. The main differentiator here is the suspension. It's more pliant. With the yump-strewn streets ready to catch out the unwary, there's just a few percentile greater leeway as impacts are absorbed by the forks. Anyway, don't take our word for it, here's professional motorcycle competitor Davey Todd. He finished 4th in the senior TT last year and is the reigning British Superstock champion.
The physics of the game is completely changed then for Ride on the Edge 3, which is really exciting because I think it covers both ends of the spectrum perfectly. It gives the realistic mode is realistic, like it's good. Within 5 minutes, honestly, I crashed twice, and then I was just like really smiling. And the guys are like, "What developers? What are you smiling for? Like you crashed." They were a bit worried, and I'm like, "No, this is perfect." I did something, basically braked too hard, leaning over into the corner, and it crashed. And I'm like, "That's exactly what should happen." Both crashes, I can say, honestly, they should have happened, and it did, whereas in a lot of games you can do things that you can't do in real life, and it still works. So the realistic element of it is really, I was impressed right from the start. But then also, I know there's a ton of motorbike fans and TT fans who really, really want to get to ride the TT course on the game, who maybe don't have a ton of gaming experience and want something easier that they can still enjoy and play without it just being really impossible for them, you know? So you put it on the beginner mode and it is easy. It's playable for I think anybody can jump on and play it. So it's really nice that they've covered both ends of the spectrum with it.
One element that the RaceWard team has worked hard on is the audio design, visiting the races last year to record the sights and sounds. Ahead of release, playing a pre-launch build, we did note a lack of wind noise, which in the second game added to the sense of speed. This is an ambitious project. We were expecting a quick polish of the previous installment, but instead, this feels like a new beginning for the series. Yes, it has the number 3 in the name, but it's best to think of this as something ground up. We understand it's tricky to get your head around when visually it looks rather similar to the outgoing title due to its shared technology base. The newer consoles and PC tech help make it a step forward unquestionably, but you can still see the quirks of the KT engine. In addition to the open world area, new career structure and vastly different physics, there's a photo mode now, plus the ability for it to rain. During the main TT event, it will remain dry to match real life, but in the smaller events and free roaming, it can be wet, which makes the island feel like a living, breathing entity somewhat. Online multiplayer is present for up to 10 players, and while not cross-platform, it is at least cross-generational with a free upgrade from older platforms to the current spec machines. Apart from on the Switch, of course, which we've yet to see in action. Publisher Nacon also plans for an esports competition, with the finalists making an in-person finale at next year's TT event. As for your AI-controlled rivals performance, we'll await final judgment for a full review closer to launch, similarly with the replication of the big finale, and if the career progression lasts the duration. Certainly, all the right ingredients are there to take home the senior trophy. The game will launch on the 11th of May 2023 for PC, on Epic and Steam, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, the aforementioned Nintendo Switch, Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. There's a pre-order bonus of a John McGuinness livery that celebrates his 100th start too. The question is, will you be picking up this game on launch? Let us know in the comments down below. Subscribe to the Traxion channel to catch all of our future videos on this very game, and of course for all of your other racing game content as well, head over to the TraxionGG website. That's it for me today, so until I see you next time, thank you so much for watching, keep it pinned, and have a great day.